Hello and welcome to our episode 4 of RagBrag, where we talk to leading AI founders and innovators about the experiences building with AI. I'm Valeria Gomez from Pinecone, and today's guest is Alex Danilovich, co-founder at Magic Patterns. Today, we will talk about how Magic Patterns takes front-end coding to the next level. We will break down how it makes UI development easier by creating components that fit right into your code base. Alex, welcome. Great to have you here. And to kick things off, can you just give us a little bit overview of your role at Magic Patterns and your background with generative AI?
Studied computer science and then did Y Combinator and have been front-end engineers for the last 8 years. And we really built Magic Patterns to solve a problem for ourselves, which is generating UI from a text prompt.
Amazing. Amazing. Alex, every great project has a spark, right? That sets everything into motion. Can you tell us more about the inspiration behind Magic Patterns and how it aims to improve UI development?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the inspiration and also our background with generative AI. Very limited in the sense that this idea really came from seeing all the amazing technology that people were creating with OpenAI and all the other different models, and things like Pinecone. We're happy Pinecone customers. And so the inspiration really came from my co-founder and I wanting to write React components, but it was challenging. We would feed it into ChatGPT or try to come up with it ourselves. And we figured, what if we could use natural language to do it? And it was actually all inspired by a hackathon that we did internally. And I can share more about that, but yeah.
Amazing. I love everything that you have said and all your experience, kind of building the company and from your own experience as well. Since the past 9 months and last year, there is a lot of AI companies merging, right? How do you differentiate yourselves from other AI coding assistants, and what kind of unique features do you offer?
Yeah, so one of the main unique features that we offer is that you can bring your own component library to Magic Patterns. And we also offer a lot of the free component libraries online. So whether you're using Chakra UI or ShadCN or Radix, whatever it is, we support it. And then also your own internal library, which not a lot of companies are doing right now.
Amazing. I now want to kind of dive into the nuts and bolts for a moment. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on the different workflows of your product, from receiving a prompt to then generating and implementing the UI components?
Sure. I'll just share my screen. I hope people brought their popcorn because we can do this live. Cool. So I imagine you all see that here. This is our landing page, magicpatterns.com. Feel free to go to it directly. Everything's all live. And we can help you prototype your product ideas and generate React components. So here you can type in anything you want, like a login page. But just to save some time, I'll show you some existing generations. So if I go to this screen here, we'll see this is a calculator component that I generated earlier. And you'll see the crazy thing is it's actually working. 2 + 2 = 4. And this was literally just generated from typing a calculator. And you'll see it comes with all the code here, not only the UI, but also the function to make it work. And we have other features like clicking to update, right? If I say I wanted to make this button blue, and different generations here, right? This is one that it spit out that's a little different, kind of a black theme. But where we really shine, again, is bringing your own custom component library. And that's actually what we use Pinecone for. So you'll see here, I have another generation. And this was actually created with Radix themes, which most of the models out of the box do not know about. But we leveraged Pinecone and a RAG-based approach to basically make this component, which I can share more details if you had another follow-up question, Valeria.
Yes, of course. So, for our technical listeners, I know they want to know about the different techniques and algorithms and models. I know you mentioned RAG, you mentioned Pinecone. Anything else that you use in your AI tech stack for Magic Patterns?
Yeah, so we use a lot of post-processing, which is just basically these functions that we have written to kind of strip out all the hallucinations. And so I can talk about that for a second. So, right, when you type in a list of customers and you're using Radix themes, the way it works is we have our vector database of example components and type definitions from the component library. So in this case, I'm using Radix UI. Let me zoom in for you here. So actually behind the scenes, when I typed in a list of top customers, we're getting relevant examples from our vector database, and then feeding that to the end prompt. So we're grabbing our table root, our table body, our table cell, basically different table examples to then ultimately compose it. But then more technology that we have at the end, and kind of the magic and a lot of the stuff that my co-founder and I work on, is this kind of post-processing, where if it hallucinates a component or something is broken about it, we will deterministically strip that out.
That's pretty cool. I love that. Any other models that you use? I know you're saying that you kind of do some post processing of the information. I know that you also do some kind of fine tuning. So when do you decide when to do like RAG versus kind of fine tuning for Magic Patterns?
Yeah, well, the cool thing about working in the generative UI space right now, and generative AI in general, is it feels like everyone is experimenting, right? So we've experimented with fine-tuning models, using GPT, using Claude, using a mix of both. And we use fine-tuning sometimes for, again, these custom component libraries, where let's say we have a set of Radix theme examples that we manually curated. We will fine tune a model off of that. And I also want to mention, because you brought up other models, we also have Vision. And I'll actually give a live demonstration of that right now. Let's see if the curse of the live demo affects me. But you'll see this is hackernews.com. And if I take a picture here, I'm going to copy that and then go back to Magic Patterns. Here I'm logged in. I'm going to paste that in and click generate. And this is hitting our API and going to return the Hacker News creation. So we'll let that load as you ask the next question, but as it streams in.
This is super cool. This is the first time that we do a live demo, and I hope it's going well. You never know with live streaming, but I mean, I see it's going well there on that part. So you use Pinecone, right? Kind of mentioned that. So anything else that you can kind of elaborate around how you're using Pinecone to generate design inspiration and those kind of code snippets?
Yeah, so we use Pinecone to store examples and type definitions and component definitions of these custom component libraries. So going back to the table example, we'll store in Pinecone an example component. It may not be a list of top customers, but rather maybe it's a table of users, right? And then we'll fetch that relevant example using Pinecone to then feed it into our final prompt, right? I recognize it's called RAG brag, and maybe people already know what RAG means, but it's just a really fancy term for adding additional context, right? And so that's how we leverage Pinecone. And you'll see it all streamed in here. So this is an example component with all of the code that you can then just copy paste directly into your React app. And it finished before I could even answer my question. So
that's so great. And thank you for clarifying what RAG is. Probably we assume a lot of people know, but yeah, just kind of simplifying it, that it just to kind of add more context. That's really helpful for those technical folks that are joining us. Alex, developing something, as innovator as Magic Patterns, we just saw what happened. It's so quick and so very quick and fast and easy to really build an UI. What kind of challenges do you face during the development of your product, and how do you overcome them?
Sure. Well, I'll use a term that I think is very popular in the tech industry, which is imposter syndrome. The very first time I saw the word RAG, I did not know what it meant, right? It's not even a word, right? It's an abbreviation. A vector database, I was not totally familiar with, right? But I think it's so exciting that it's becoming so commoditized that there are tools now that, let's say your strength is more in front-end development, like my co-founder and I, right? And we're really passionate about building React components. Thanks to tools, different vector databases and tools like Pinecone and OpenAI, right? Like it's easier to build these things, and you can learn like what RAG means, right? Or you can learn, okay, what does it mean to feed additional context to the prompt? So I say that's been a big challenge, and happy to talk about that more and, how we overcame it. But
yeah, you have all this time if you want to kind of elaborate more. And I know we have some questions that we can go kind of a little bit deeper into later. But this is great, like people are trying to figure it out, how to, build, so they kind of build and learn at the same time. And I love that you guys are sharing all your challenges and, opportunities. So, what is next for Magic Patterns? You started 9 months ago, you have built this amazing product. What is next?
Yeah, well, listening to our customers, so exciting. We've had over 10,000 builders use the platform, and generating UI that they use in their production apps, whether it's Chrome extensions, internal tools, side projects, customer-facing applications. We have a lot of interesting use cases that have popped up where we have Discord bots. So if you're familiar with Midjourney is probably one of the most famous generative AI applications that generates an image directly in Discord. We brought that for React. So we have Midjourney for React. We partner with Chakra UI, and just continuing to improve our product. Going back to the challenges, one challenge that we've had is, ensuring that we're creating value. And so we've experimented with like different pricing models and things like that. Like right now, we don't have a free tier, but message me if you'd like to try it in the comments. But we don't have a free tier, and that's really because we have been wanting to make sure that we're focusing on customers with actual problems and how can we solve those problems versus kind of just riding this AI tourism effect that we've seen, right? People just trying things to try them.
That's true. People are just, kind of experimenting, like trying. They don't know how to use these new AI software, products that are emerging. So I think it will kind of, pick up too. And that's why we are doing a lot of these conversations to educate our community on the amazing uses of AI and, kind of teaching them on the challenges and opportunities if you're building those products yourself. You decided to build your company with your co-founder, right? So if you were chatting with somebody kind of over coffee and who is thinking about diving into kind of the world of entrepreneurship, especially building AI products, right? What will you tell them?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little anecdote to answer that question. I also recently gave a talk to my college. My co-founder and I met in college, and we gave a talk to the web development class there because every year they bring in different startup founders and from the school. And I remember when I was a student, I was sitting there looking at the founder, and I'm thinking, oh, I could never be that. Like, how did they do that? They must be smarter than me. They must be harder working than me. They must be something that I'm not. And then I realized the only difference is they just did it. They just started the company. They tried it, right? They created something from scratch. And that's like really the advice I give, is that recognize that there's like no fundamental difference between most startup founders and yourself. Like, just go out there and do it, as hard as it sounds. just write that first line of code, publish it online, and stick with it, right? Like recognize it's a 10-year long journey to really build like an enduring product. And that's definitely how my co-founder and I think about it is, buckling up for the long term. So
that's so great. Just, if you have an idea, just try to bring it to life, go for it, effort pays off at the end of the day, right?
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Just do it. Nike has a great motto for a reason.
Hashtag just do it for sure. I see a few questions, and we still have actually some time today. I think we flew by very quickly. Do we answer the questions that we have right now?
Let's do it. Sure, go for it. I can't see them, so because I know that I might hear myself if I have the live stream going. So go for it.
I know. I learned the hard way for sure. So let's see. Roy is asking, what parser do you use?
We use Babel to parse it in, so it's TypeScript code. And so one thing that we do when the code is streamed in, we're actually trying to like parse it and reconstruct the React tree, or I should say the HTML, so that it closes and can visually appear. So hopefully that answers your question.
I hope so too. Roy, if you have a follow-up question about that, please let us know. Hopefully that answered your question. Let's see, let me scroll down. I have to kind of catch up a little bit here. Cool demo, so it worked.
Thanks. We could do another one if people want.
Absolutely. Surey, hi Surey, thank you for joining today. He's asking, can it take WGAC compliance into consideration and build according to those?
Yeah, accessibility is something that's super important to us, and we try to add it to the output as much as possible. It's not perfectly accessible right now. So that's on the developer to add it, after they copy paste the code. But I'm sure if you were to prompt it, hey, add this ARIA tag or whatever, it should take it into account.
Awesome. Hopefully that answer. Surya, let us know if it does, if you have a follow-up question. Juan Jose Garcia, let's go. So that's great. Love to see the great comments. We have another comment from Avi, and he's asking, how do you think about applying RAG techniques to create agents that can implement these components in the code base?
That's a great question. It's super relevant considering, this is a Pinecone event. Let me talk about that for a second. So one interesting thing that we played around with, let me share my screen again, actually.
Let's do it.
Let's go right here. So let me see which one has an icon in it. None of these have an icon in it, but just to give a visual to explain it. One thing that we've been messing around with is kind of this approach of asking the AI, do I need icons or not? Right, based off of the component. So in a calculator, you don't need any icons because it's just all text, right? But by playing around with that, then we can decide, okay, if we do need icons, let's waste the time fetching it from the vector database and the relevant icon examples, right? I mean, waste of time is harsh, but you know what I mean, right? We don't want to fetch icons if we don't need them. And then particularly in applying it to your code base, we have thought about things like a VS Code extension and taking in your custom code and your code base. But right now, we really just ingest the design system through either Storybook or Figma. And so we take that already into approach when we feed it into our final prompt via our RAG pipeline.
Great. Hopefully that answered the question for Abby. Let us know. We have a couple more. Luis is asking, how do you store the code in Pinecone for efficient retrieval?
Yes, so that's actually a lot of playing around with that to find the right approach. So I'm happy to share. it was, these code snippets, right, can be kind of hard to feed in because they're big. Or also you have to escape a lot of characters if you store the examples directly in your code base. One thing that we do is actually store it as just a TXT file, because then I can just have anything I want in there, and I don't need to use any escape characters. And then we have this script that basically takes all the Radix themes components or ShadCN components and then feeds it into our vector database when we make an update. So we're storing basically all these examples as just plain text files, if that answers your question. Oh, and I guess so. I'll address the retrieval thing as well. For efficient retrieval, one thing that's been interesting playing around with, right, is figuring out like what keywords are we using to basically do the semantic matching on the example, right? So let me share my screen again because people love visuals. Because the demo went so well, it's safe to share the screen. Right, so in this example, we retrieved a table even though we use the word list, right? And so there's a couple things we do here. In Pinecone, we kind of have like a list of keywords to match off of, so like list and table. But also we will ask the AI saying, hey, what components do you think we need here to generate this example? So in this instance, right, it's asking for list, and that's how we get the keyword for table.
Super cool. Love that. I'm really enjoying this live demo. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Samuel is asking us, asking you more precisely, are you looking at a system message type of configuration where a user can add stuff like area and icons, etc., etc.?
Assistant message. So we don't use the Assistants API, if that's what that is referring to OpenAI. We still use chat completion, and we also use Claude and some other models. What was the last half, though, about icons?
He said, let me scroll back. He kind of keeps moving, where a user can add stuff like area and icons.
Yeah, so we do fetch for icons today. And one thing we do, all this, the live demo went so well, let's do it again. We have an update feature. So you can actually click anything to update or update the entire component down here. Let's see if the curse of the live demo, once again, let's test fate here. So you can say, make this blue. And what that's doing is hitting our API again to make that update on the relevant component. So yeah, feel free to ask a follow-up on that. If you follow up in the comments, I'll be sure after the live stream to answer some as well. So
yeah, Samuel did follow up. He said, assistant message can be prefix rules for a prompt that is sent with the prompt.
Oh, got it. The assistant message. Yes. And like systems prompts. Yeah. So we have a system prompt that that basically is really configured to building a React component, right? And in this case, given the design system like HTML and Tailwind, or in the other one, we have a system prompt specifically for Radix themes and inline styles. So yes, we have like a system prompt, and we'll actually compose it directly on every given iteration and generation, right? So in this example, because we didn't use any icons, we don't include use icons in the system prompt. Cool. Hopefully that answered your question. It looks like it updated it blue, but because I was teasing it, something went wrong, of course, on this one. But that's why we provide multiple generations so that it's more deterministic in some sense. Cool. Any other questions?
We have a couple more, so let's see.
Do it.
So awesome. Massimo is asking, well, he's saying, great to learn from you, Alex. He's saying, not sure if you talk about this, but if you can share about how do you handle the training of a custom model for enterprises and the constant improvements of your base on model?
Got it. Yeah. So we don't, to be very clear, we don't train on any customer data or anything like that. And with the enterprises that we do partner with, it's still like a RAG-based approach that they have agreed to, obviously, and very intimately familiar with how it works. So because that's a great question, right? It's this classic dilemma of, do you build your own model or do you just kind of wait for Sam Altman to snap his fingers and release GPT-5, right? So right now, we are still using the base models because we believe, as we saw with GPT 4.0, which we leverage today, much faster, right? And of course, it required for us to fine tune a little bit of our post-processing. You know, they had different hallucinations that we had to strip out, but we adapted quickly to it, being a startup. So yeah, we just use the base models right now. It'll be exciting to see if, you know, companies who use and train their own models, whether they're able to kind of like outpace and outperform the giants. I don't know the answer to that. I'm equally excited to see what the future holds. So
That's so great. I think one of our first episodes with Andrew Lee from Shortwave, he was talking about that precisely. When you build your own versus kind of train your own models versus kind of just going for whatever is already available. And he said the decision is like, how fast do you really need to move, right? So at that point, you just kind of need to make the decision. Amazing. We have one more question, and it's from Juan Carlos. He say, amazing, Alex. Quick question. What have been your biggest learnings during your journey around RAG and AI building?
Biggest learnings. Great question. Experimentation is key. You know, and I think being open to experimentation, right? Like, I think a theme of this whole conversation and other RAG brags has been, it's a very early time in the space, right? And to even demonstrate that, I saw a funny TikTok the other day where people were using ChatGPT and people were commenting like, what app is that, right? Just to demonstrate like how this is such an early time still. So if you think people are still asking what ChatGPT is, they're still experimenting with things like RAG, right? There's no predetermined way to do it. And so like a big learning has been playing around with exactly given your setup and your examples and your keywords and your prompt and your system, what is the best you know, approach to take, whether it's like in Pinecone, you know, using like the top score of how many examples you fetch, or what exactly you're storing in the metadata, right? And versus vectorizing, right? So yeah, it's just like I don't have a clear-cut answer other than you got to try and see what like works best for you. And we have a lot of scripts that just like run it and then we retrieve something and then see, okay, how high was the score on that given example? Yeah.
For sure. You know, try to see what you can, you know, use and adapt. I think that has been like the theme of this conversation. Just do it. Love it.
That's right.
So Juan Carlos, I thank you for the answer. And I don't think we have more questions. And amazing. We just really are time. We really share a lot of information in 30 minutes. I love it. So thank you so much for listening today. We will be hosting our next episode of RAG Brag in a couple of weeks on June 4th with the founder and CEO of Inkip, Nick Gomez. We will be using Zoom webinar moving forward so we can share the recording afterwards. I keep seeing like comments, where is the recording? So we're gonna make it more easy for you to find those. And the event link is now in the comments. So I hope you can all join us. And Alex, you know, it has been a pleasure chatting with you today, your journey about Magic Pattern. I love the live demo, really love it. I think everybody enjoyed it as well. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. And again, I'll be in the comments after this if there were any remaining questions. And our website is www.magicpatterns.com. That was $10 to buy, which we're very proud of. So, you know, go on to Magic Patterns. There's a there's a way to contact us via support or the feedback, and you'll be talking directly with me. And thanks again for having me. Muchas gracias. And I'm excited for you to talk to Nick. Nick is actually a friend of mine. We did Y Combinator together, and he's a customer of ours, and he's amazing. So tune in on the next episode. I can't wait. I'll be there with my popcorn.
Amazing. Such a small circle, right? We are such a small community. You never know where you can find somebody that you know or that you have collaborated before in the past, or even they are customer of yours. Amazing. I did not know that. So I'm going to make sure that Nick knows that. So again, Alex, thank you. Cannot thank you enough for today and the demo. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you all then on June 4th. Bye-bye.
Thank you.